I want to tell you about the year I almost lost my husband to a man who never raised his voice. Emeka and I had been married for 3 years when we moved into that compound in Suralia. Our compound was clean. Our neighbors were decent. Our flat had 2 bedrooms and a small balcony where I used to sit in the evenings after work and watch the street and feel like we were building something real. We were not rich. We were not struggling. We were exactly in that Lagos in between, the place where you have enough to keep going but not enough to stop worrying about whether you will keep having enough. Emeka worked in logistics for a mid-sized company. I worked in HR for a firm on the island. We had 1 car between us. We argued sometimes about small things the way couples argue when money is tight enough that small things feel large. But we came back to each other every time because what we had was real and we both knew it was real, and that knowledge was the thing that held everything together when everything else was pressing in. Then Emeka's company folded. Not slowly. Not with warning. One Monday morning he went to work and by Wednesday afternoon the company had closed its doors and 400 employees including my husband were out of a job with 2 weeks severance and a WhatsApp message from HR. I want to tell you what those next 4 months felt like, but I do not have enough words for it. Emeka sent out his CV every day. He called everyone he knew. He went for interviews that led nowhere. He came home some evenings with that specific Lagos defeat on his face, the look of a man who has been told no so many times in one day that the world starts to lose its shape. I held everything together from my salary. I stretched it the way you stretch things when you have no choice. I stopped buying anything that was not essential. I stopped mentioning things that were broken in the flat because fixing them cost money we did not have. I watched my husband lose weight and gain silence, and I loved him through all of it because that is what you do. That is what marriage actually is when the Instagram version runs out. Then we fell behind on rent. 1 month, then 2 months. Then we were sitting at our kitchen table one Sunday evening looking at numbers that did not add up no matter how many times we rearranged them, and the conclusion was the same every time. We could not pay what we owed and we could not pay what was coming, and Alhaji Bello, our landlord, had every right to send us a quick notice. Alhaji Bello was a man I had seen maybe 4 times since we moved in. He drove a black Land Cruiser with tinted windows. He had a house at the back of the compound that he visited once or twice a month. He was the kind of landlord you were grateful for because he was simply not present in your life. Just a name on a receipt and a signature on an agreement. The call came on a Tuesday morning. Emeka answered it. I was in the kitchen and I could hear the tone of the conversation changing as it went on, from nervous to surprised to something that sounded almost like relief. When he came and found me, his face was different from any face he had worn in 4 months. Alhaji Bello had called personally. He said he was aware of the situation. He said he did not want to add to the pressure of a man who was clearly working hard to get back on his feet. He was giving us a 6-month extension. Full 6 months. No penalties. No interest. Just take the time and sort yourself out. Emeka stood in my kitchen looking like a man who had just been told he could breathe again. I stood in my kitchen and felt something cold move through me that I could not name. I was grateful. I want to be clear about that. I was genuinely grateful. But something about a landlord who had never once called us personally, who had never shown any interest in our lives beyond the rent, suddenly calling in our worst month to offer 6 months of relief without being asked. Something about that did not sit the way generosity is supposed to sit. Generosity from a stranger usually feels warm. This felt like something else. I could not tell you what. I just knew it did not feel warm.